Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Alfred Hitchcock Presents review. Today it is Season 1, Episode 3, Triggers and Leash, starring Gene Barry as Dell, Darren McGavin as Red, and Ellen Corby as Maggie. And this episode features a very amusing and entertaining opening sequence narrated by Alfred Hitchcock. Unfortunately, that's where the fun ends. That was about all I liked in this episode. This is one of those episodes that is very drawn out. It feels like there's about 10 to 15 minutes of script put into a 25-minute episode. And I don't occasionally mind an episode that's slow if it builds tension to an effective climax, but to me the twist in this episode didn't work and kind of made the whole episode pointless. So we start with one of our lead characters, Maggie, and she's talking to an elderly gentleman named Ben, and they're talking about food. There's a lot of food talk in this episode, I'll just leave it at that. And eventually he leaves and a man named Dell comes in, and he's a main character, and they talk for a bit. And then Ben leaves for a little bit, and when he comes back in, Dell draws a gun on him, thinking he's someone else. So now we've established that Dell is waiting for someone else. We don't know who yet. And Maggie and Dell talk, and she talks more about food, and then Maggie scolds him for drawing a gun like that, which is understandable. And eventually a man named Red comes in, and we find out that him and Dell don't like each other. They're basically staring each other down, and it looks like they're going to draw on each other. And we find out that they had some kind of dispute over cards and drinking, a poker game, and these guys obviously really take poker very seriously, as a lot of people do. But they go on and on and on about this for it's a couple minutes, but it actually seems like about an hour in my opinion. And this whole time, Maggie is trying to talk him down from doing this. And she actually comes across as a bit annoying as well. I understand she doesn't want her place shot up, but she's just very over the top in my opinion. And all the dialogue here is just very mediocre in my opinion. So Maggie keeps trying to talk them out of it. The two men just keep talking. Nothing is really happening. I think they're trying to build dramatic tension, but it doesn't really work because there's no plot advancement here at all. It's just pretty much the same thing over and over. So eventually we do get to the next scene, and the men are still insulting each other. Maggie serves them food, and you can tell she's very annoyed with both men at this point, so am I, to be fair. So then we get this fairly strange scene where the men are eating and staring at each other at the same time, and this goes on for a while, probably too long. I think this was supposed to maybe be humorous, but I didn't really find it funny. The mood is kind of doesn't really know what it wants to be in this episode, in my opinion. So eventually they come up with this idea, because neither one wants to get in trouble if they're the winner. They basically say that we're going to use this cuckoo clock that's on the wall, and when the bird comes out, basically at the start of a new hour, that's when we're both going to draw, so we'll draw at the same time. And Maggie's worried about this cross that she has, and it's basically on the same shelf or mantle, whatever it is, where the clock is. So she takes the cross down, and the men are waiting and waiting, and the clock stops, so neither man can basically draw. And this is my problem with the episode. It may seem like a clever twist, but basically nothing happens. Both men just leave, pretty much making the episode pointless, in my opinion, at this point. And then the elderly gentleman, Ben, from the beginning, basically comes back in, and he tells Maggie, "Why'd you take the cross down? I told you that the cross needs to be up there to balance out the clock." So somehow the weight of this cross, I guess, made the clock tick, which I guess that's fine, but ultimately it doesn't lead to anything. And then we get the closing narration where Alfred Hitchcock, I think saying it humorously, but he says that the episode was disappointing. But so basically he admits that this episode was disappointing, and I would agree with him. And then he gives this last twist, something about the food, which I'll just leave at that. It really didn't make a lot of sense either. Again, I'm not sure if it was supposed to be serious or humorous, but this episode is just a fail for me, and I give Triggers and Leash a 1.5 out of 5. Kind of a pointless episode that you don't really need to watch, so 1.5 out of 5 for Triggers and Leash, and as always, thanks for watching.